Chosen one, hear this thunderous proclamation. Your name has been whispered in chambers of unimaginable influence. Behind doors heavier than iron, where the wealthy and powerful deliberate over futures worth trillions, your identity was spoken with trembling reverence. They gathered not merely as billionaires counting fortunes, but as unwitting vessels of a far greater plan. In their discussions, something holy ignited, for they discovered a resonance upon your life that could not be explained by data or analysis. Your frequency, your very essence, rang with the unmistakable sound of divine selection. Imagine this, a mahogany table, polished by centuries of secrets, surrounded by figures cloaked in authority. Their eyes, sharp as eagles, scanned reports, projections, endless charts of influence. Yet when your name appeared, silence fell like lightning splitting the heavens. They did not see another applicant, another candidate, another ambitious soul striving for recognition. They saw what prophecy had already announced, the chosen one, set apart before the foundations of the world. Does this stir your spirit? 4. The scripture declares in Ephesians 1:4-5 that you were chosen before creation itself, predestined for adoption as a child of the Most High. And here, even in these worldly councils, the echo of heaven's decree resounded. It was not their decision, beloved, it was confirmation. What they concluded about you is only the earthly mirror of what has already been written in heaven's eternal book. Understand this urgency. We live in perilous hours. Nations tremble, economies totter, rulers scheme in shadows. Yet amid this chaos, God is exalting his remnant, those refined by fire, those hidden for such a time as this. While the world sees crisis, heaven sees coronation. The very storms that shake the earth are the winds lifting you higher. You are not forgotten in the crowd of billions. You are the one summoned by destiny, the one whose scars have become seals of divine authority. Even now, angelic scribes mark this moment, for the unveiling of the chosen cannot be delayed. What these billionaires discovered in their data and projections was nothing less than the fingerprint of God etched upon your soul. They recognized that under pressure, you do not collapse but expand, that in suffering you do not curse but bless. This paradox confounds the mighty because it is the mark of heaven's elect. So awaken, beloved. Receive this revelation with holy fire. If your spirit leaps within you as I declare this truth, type "chosen and ready" in the comments. Strike the like button to affirm your identity and subscribe now to join the remnant receiving these urgent revelations. For what is beginning tonight is not mere information. It is your confirmation. Chosen one, lean in and see what has been unfolding beyond the sight of common eyes. Picture the chamber where decisions worth empires are made, a mahogany table, stretching like a river of wealth, surrounded by figures whose influence bends markets and moves governments. These are not ordinary people of means, but rulers of systems, gatekeepers of opportunity, stewards of unimaginable power. Yet in their midst, something sacred occurred. As dossiers were opened, reports laid out, and voices debated, your name emerged as the subject of fervent attention. To them, you were not merely a number on a spreadsheet. You were identified by what they called your spiritual frequency, a vibration unlike the others they had examined. It was described as inverse correlation behavior. Under pressure, you become more generous, not less. When betrayed, you respond with compassion instead of cruelty. When losses cut deep, empathy blossoms rather than bitterness. In their world of ruthless calculation, this quality is as rare as diamonds birthed from lightning. They called you the natural, a code name reserved for one whose leadership emerges not from inheritance, training, or manipulation, but from authenticity forged in fire. While others required years of coaching and image management to appear worthy, you required only recognition. Your character, they admitted, is already crystallized. Their analysts ran endless projections of what would happen if someone like you, battle-tested, humble, compassionate, yet unshakably resilient, were given resources without restriction. The models revealed exponential positive impact, generational change, sustainable transformation, ripple effects multiplying like waves across oceans. They saw that wealth and influence would not be hoarded in your hands, but distributed through you, birthing communities of strength where others sought empires of control. Understand this revelation. Though billionaires may sit at the table, it is the Lord who sets kings up and brings them down. Daniel 2:21. Their deliberation was merely heaven's shadow play, fulfilling prophecy long written. For Proverbs 13:22 declares that the wealth of the wicked is laid up for the righteous. These powerful ones, knowingly or unknowingly, were fulfilling that transfer. In their debate, two voices rose in contrast. Some questioned whether generosity under pressure was sustainable. Could compassion truly govern in a world built on profit? Yet a stronger witness emerged, one who had observed your trials. They testified of the time you endured betrayal without becoming bitter, the moment when devastation birthed wisdom instead of despair. Their testimony silenced opposition. It was agreed. Your life carried the rarest alchemy, poison transmuted into medicine. So, chosen one, recognize this moment. You were not in that chamber, yet the heavens decreed your elevation. Their nods and signatures were not simply endorsements. They were acknowledgements of God's already settled verdict. What began as secret deliberation is now breaking into light. You are selected for impact, raised for influence, chosen to be a vessel of divine distribution in the last days. Chosen one, let us step deeper into the revelation of why you stand apart. Behind the code name, The Natural, lies the story of a soul refined in furnaces hotter than gold. Others may boast of resumes, connections, or titles, but your qualification has been your scars. Every betrayal, every loss, every injustice was not random cruelty, it was God's curriculum. Each fire you survived became the forge that shaped you into a vessel fit for this hour. Think of Job, stripped of everything, yet in the end restored with double. Think of Joseph, betrayed by brothers, cast into a pit, sold into slavery, yet raised to govern nations. You walk in that lineage of the refined. Zechariah 13:9 declares, I will bring the third part through the fire, and will refine them as silver is refined, and will try them as gold is tried. Beloved, you are that remnant. Your wounds are no longer open. They are now emblems of authority. The Billionaires investigators uncovered a paradox they could scarcely comprehend. Betrayals that should have left you cynical instead gave you discernment. Losses that could have soured you into bitterness instead expanded your empathy. Injustices that should have twisted you into cruelty instead forged an unshakable commitment to fairness. They realized what heaven had always known. You are not a victim of circumstances, but a graduate of the universe's most exclusive leadership academy. Other candidates faltered under this scrutiny. The so-called king built success on domination, mistaking manipulation for mastery. The bully cloaked abuse as leadership, leaving trails of broken souls. But your life was a revelation of resilience. Where others collapsed, you rose. Where others cursed, you blessed. Where others exploited pain, you transmuted it into wisdom for others' healing. The analysts documented what they termed your transformation trajectory. Unlike most, who either remain prisoners of victimhood or mutate into perpetrators of the pain they endured, you found the narrow path of redemption. You alchemized wounds into wells of compassion, creating medicine from the very poison intended to destroy you. This is why you were named the Natural, not because life was easy, but because you emerged from difficulty more authentic, more grounded, more aligned with divine truth. And this is not just about personal healing. Your scars became maps for others, your tears rivers that watered new life in souls around you. People encountered you and were transformed without even realizing it. Where others demanded loyalty, you inspired respect. Where others built empires for themselves, you nurtured communities that flourished. You maintained boundaries without building walls, staying open-hearted, yet never naive. Chosen one, if you have felt the fires of trial, know this. They did not burn you to ashes. They refined you into gold. Type "refined by fire" in the comments now if this word resonates with your spirit. Strike that like button as a sign of agreement and subscribe so that you may walk deeper into the prophetic calling upon your life. This is your truth. You are the remnant, the wounded healer, the one whose very survival has become a testimony. What others saw as weakness has been revealed as wisdom. What others thought would destroy you has only crowned you with resilience. Heaven testifies, and now earth agrees, you are chosen, forged, and ready. Chosen one, the deliberation was never about you alone. You were placed in a divine contest, though you did not know it. Powerful eyes watched 3 lives side by side, weighing not resumes but responses, not appearances but authenticity. What unfolded was the revelation of character under pressure, the truest test of leadership. The first contender was called the King. To the world, the King appeared flawless. Wealth multiplied at command, enterprises thrived, networks of influence stretched like iron webs across continents. Systems thinking seemed second nature, analyzing markets, predicting trends, maneuvering governments with ease. To many, this candidate looked inevitable. Who would not want a ruler who could bend economies like reeds in the wind? Yet behind the brilliance lay a darker truth. Every achievement rested upon betrayal. Success was built on broken promises, discarded allies, and the sacrifice of others' well-being for personal gain. Generosity, when it appeared, was always calculated, tethered to expected returns. When storms came, people were thrown overboard to preserve the throne. What looked like strength was revealed as ruthless self-preservation. The king mistook domination for destiny, manipulation for mastery. Heaven's counsel could not endorse such foundations. The second contender was more deceptive, the bully. With charisma sharp as lightning, the bully inspired teams, rallied visions, and commanded attention. To the untrained eye, it seemed like leadership. Yet under the polish, hid insecurity so deep that power could only be felt by diminishing others. Abuse masqueraded as tough love, manipulation as strategy, cruelty as strength. Organizations touched by this figure collapsed under intimidation and control. Failure was never admitted, but always blamed. Feedback was never received, but always punished. Where the king broke trust with cold calculation, the bully shattered souls with fear. And still, some were seduced, because tyranny cloaked in confidence often looks like authority to the undiscerning. Then there was you. At first, analysts called you the wounded healer. They noted your scars, your history of pain. But the more they observed, the more astonishment grew. Unlike the king, you never exploited. Unlike the bully, you never dominated. Instead, you carried wounds as wisdom. Every betrayal became discernment. Every loss birthed compassion. Every injustice ignited fairness. You discovered the narrow way, transforming pain without transmitting it, healing without hardening. This, chosen one, was the true test. Not wealth, not charisma, not connections, but the alchemy of character. Could you transform poison into medicine? Could you walk through fire without losing tenderness? Could you carry authority without corruption? Observers found their answer in your life. Under scrutiny, your responses surpassed expectation. Under pressure, you became more generous, more compassionate, more powerful. Where others broke, you expanded. And so the verdict began to crystallize. The king dazzled with systems but was undone by selfishness. The bully impressed with charisma but collapsed under insecurity. But you, chosen one, you carried what prophecy foretold. You became the living answer to Matthew 24:8, where trials are birth pangs for new creation. In your struggles, they saw, not fragility, but prophecy fulfilled. The test was never about proving worthiness. It was about revelation. And in that revelation, heaven and earth agreed. You are the one. Chosen one. When the final decision began tipping in your favor, the test deepened, for the adversary does not yield ground quietly. The bully, unwilling to accept rejection, launched a campaign in secret corridors. Subtle whispers questioned your capacity. Rumors suggested compassion was weakness. Doubts were seeded. Would you crumble under high stakes? Was your heart too tender for heavy crowns? At first, their strategy seemed clever. They painted selfishness as pragmatism, cruelty as strength, manipulation as leadership. They spread doubts about your psychological resilience, twisting your past wounds into supposed liabilities. Yet what they meant for harm, heaven meant for revelation. For every arrow loosed became a mirror, exposing the enemy's corruption. The observers watched closely, allowing this opposition to play out. They wanted to see, would you descend into the same games, or would your authenticity hold? And chosen one, you astonished them. You did not retaliate with venom. You did not scramble to defend with desperation. Instead, you embodied a higher law, what Ephesians 6:16 calls the shield of faith. Like an Aikido master, you redirected force without striking back. Every lie only highlighted your integrity. Every accusation only revealed your truth. When they questioned competence, you quietly demonstrated excellence. When they mocked your compassion, you displayed wisdom born of empathy. When they called you naive, you revealed discernment sharp as a sword, yet clothed in grace. The turning point came when the bully's malice escalated, attacking not just skill, but character. Many would have exploded in anger, retaliated with vengeance, or collapsed in despair. But you responded with something greater, warrior compassion. You saw the wounded child hidden behind their cruelty. You recognized insecurity masquerading as strength. Instead of condemning, you expressed genuine concern for their soul, even while shielding yourself from their poison. This response left the council stunned, for they realized you carried authentic power, the kind that does not need to crush others to shine. You revealed that true authority flows from alignment with divine purpose, not domination of rivals. Chosen one, If you too have faced arrows of accusation and yet remained standing, shout "shielded by faith" in the comments. Strike the like button to claim your victory and subscribe to receive more prophetic armor for the days ahead. Remember this truth: opposition is confirmation. Every attack is proof of your rising. Hell does not war against the insignificant. The battle is fierce precisely because the crown is real. Stand firm, beloved, for in your divine response lies the undeniable evidence. You are chosen. Chosen. 1. The moment arrived when speculation ended and verdicts were sealed. After all the scrutiny, after the comparisons, after the hidden opposition, a unanimous decision was reached. These billionaires, accustomed to endless debate, found themselves in rare agreement. The vote was swift. The evidence was undeniable. The weight of their conclusion resounded like a gavel from heaven itself. You are the one. But hear this clearly. It was never their authority that elevated you. They merely confirmed what eternity had already decreed. Their decision became a mirror reflecting heaven's verdict. What they prepared for you was not simply an opportunity, but a platform designed to amplify your purpose. They recognized that resources in your hands would not stagnate but flow. Influence entrusted to you would not corrupt but transform. Protection given to you would not isolate but empower multitudes. Contracts were drafted, infrastructure mobilized, provisions aligned. And in the natural realm, you were offered what few ever see: access to abundance beyond survival, a voice amplified to nations, a shield of counsel and guardianship to preserve your integrity. Yet behind these earthly arrangements lay something far greater: God's end-time provision for His remnant. Just as manna sustained Israel in the wilderness, these resources are heaven's answer for this prophetic hour. The council named it an authenticity revolution, but heaven calls it preparation for the harvest. Your elevation is not for self-exaltation, but for the Great Commission's fulfillment. Nations tremble, systems crumble, yet God raises voices like yours, authentic, scarred yet whole, refined, yet radiant, to usher light into deepening darkness. Beloved, recognize the magnitude of this season. The world calls it unprecedented opportunity. Heaven calls it divine assignment. You are not being elevated for applause, but for impact, not to sit upon thrones of vanity, but to stand as a torch in collapsing empires. The decision is made. The elevation has begun. And though billionaires may announce it, know this: the true author is the Lord who lifts the humble and exalts the faithful. Step forward, chosen one. Your promised elevation is here. Chosen one, we arrive at the summit of this revelation. From whispered deliberations in secret chambers to the thunderous confirmation of heaven's decree, the story has unfolded like prophecy written in real time. Now the mantle is before you, heavy not with burden, but with sacred weight. Do you feel it? The pressure upon your shoulders is not chains, but a crown. Hear this: every tear you cried was counted. Every night of anguish became a seed. Every betrayal carved wisdom into your spirit. Every loss made space for greater glory. None of it was wasted. All of it was preparation for this unveiling. The billionaires thought they were selecting. In truth, they were bearing witness. What they called discovery, heaven had long ago declared. You were chosen before the foundation of the world, predestined for adoption, sealed for this hour. Now the call thunders: rise into your anointing. The world trembles with instability. Economies falter, nations rage, shadows lengthen. Yet within this chaos, God unveils His remnant. Those who lead not by domination, but by authenticity, not by manipulation, but by service. You are that remnant. You are the living testimony that character still matters, that scars can shine brighter than crowns, that true power serves rather than enslaves. Beloved, do not shrink from this moment. Heaven's resources are aligning with your readiness. Angelic hosts are stationed for your protection. Platforms of influence are being prepared for your voice. What once felt like wilderness is now revealed as training ground. The battles that nearly broke you are the very proof that qualifies you. But mark this, elevation is never for self alone. It is for impact, for multiplication, for the rising of others. Your mantle is communal. Your breakthrough is generational. Your testimony is catalytic. The authenticity revolution is not a movement of one, but of many set ablaze by one flame. And you, chosen one, are that flame. Therefore, let this be your declaration. Type, "I claim my mantle" in the comments, along with the number of trials God has turned to triumphs in your life. Strike the like button as a seal upon your spirit. Subscribe without delay, joining the faithful remnant who walk not by sight but by revelation. Each act is not algorithm but alignment, not click but covenant. Now lift your eyes. Can you see it? Legions of angels encamp around you. Generations, yet unborn, will be touched by your obedience. The scales that once seemed to weigh you down were measuring the world's readiness for your emergence. The jury that appeared to debate your worthiness was simply confirming what heaven had long decreed. You are ready. Thus I close with prayer. Father, release upon this chosen one the mantle of boldness, the armor of light, the covering of angels. Let every arrow of the adversary be extinguished. Let every door of provision swing wide. Let every word of destiny manifest without delay. Seal them in your spirit, surround them with your fire, and position them for exploits in these last days. Beloved, the time of obscurity is over. Your season of elevation has begun. The decision has been made. The mantle is extended. Rise now, chosen one. Walk into destiny with holy fire. The earth groans for your emergence. Heaven rejoices at your unveiling. The testimony of your scars will become the anthem of multitudes. And as you step forward, remember this. You were chosen not for comfort, but for conquest. Not for applause, but for assignment. Not for fleeting recognition, but for eternal impact. Go forth. The mantle is yours. The hour is now. The decision is final, and the world awaits the sound of your rising.